Peacemaker is free, and so are we, to talk about the show, that is. Welcome to Podly, the official Peacemaker podcast from HBO Max in DC. And stick around because we're going to be chatting with James Gunn, and you don't want to miss that. Let's get into it.
Why is there a bald eagle in your car?
That's Eagley.
Eagley is your pet eagle.
Yeah.
Is your dog named Doggy?
All right.
Do you have a daughter named Daughtery?
What is up, everyone? I'm your host, Fiona Nova.
And I'm Nwadiwe.
And each week on Podly, we'll be diving into this badass, wild, hilarious ride of a show that is known as Peacemaker. And we're just also going to be talking with some great creatives behind the scenes and also some of the cast.
Yeah. But, before we get started, I did want to point out, look, this is a companion podcast for the show. Everything in conjunction with the show that we're doing is free game. So if you have not watched episode 1 yet, hit pause, go watch it, and then come talk to us after, and so on and so forth. So just so you know, spoilers ahead, because we are assuming you went ahead and you already watched the show.
This is the first time I've been hearing about Peacemaker and knowing his origin story seriously. And I mean, we've seen him in Suicide Squad, but we were introduced to him. Who is he? What makes him tick?
I know. The show definitely gets into it. So let's talk about it.
Let's do it.
So, first things first, Peacemaker survived.
He survived. He's alive.
Which is something you'd know if you stayed till after the credits and saw the scene. Yeah,
We got a little tease.
Yeah, we got a little tease, and, it really kind of teed up what you're going to expect in the episode. First thing, he's like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah, I got to get out of it. There was that really great back and forth with the janitor.
Yeah.
Which was amazing.
You're kind of bulky to be a superhero, aren't you?
What do you mean bulky?
Most superheroes have a gymnast body. They're ready to go.
I'm ready to go.
What superhero are you?
Peacemaker.
Oh, Peacemaker!
Yes!
You're that racist superhero!
No.
You only kill minorities, man!
I killed a fair amount of white people, too.
The ratio is suspect is all I have to say.
And then, next thing you know, he's back home. He thinks he's in the clear, and then boom, the crew shows up.
Of course he's not in the clear.
Oh,
and then we got the amazing intro.
Yeah.
I remember watching it, and I was like, oh, this is going to be that type of show.
Yeah.
Because the dance sequence and everyone just taking it so seriously, it felt like a musical.
Yeah, I know. It was almost like a fever dream. I was like, is this what Peacemaker is seeing right now?
Personally, I just think that intro fits perfectly with the theme of this show.
Yeah.
It's kind of just ridiculous and out there. And then the eagle at the end that we will know as Eagley.
Yeah.
The cast looked great. Everyone looks great. So you get this amazing intro, and then you're introduced to
Danielle Brooks.
Yeah.
And her significant other, which is great. She has the cute dog. She's new.
Love the dogs.
It's a fun moment. You get excited. Like it really does feel almost like the beginning of a heist movie where you're learning the crew, because we had the folks that we remember from the Suicide Squad.
Right.
Now we got a new person joining.
Introduced, and now we're gonna see what's going to happen. Which what happens is Peacemaker gets kind of ambushed in his trailer.
Yeah.
Right, by Byrne.
Yeah.
And they need him for a special mission.
Yeah. When he goes to see his dad, and he goes and we meet Eagley. He was just in the garage kicking it.
He was in the garage posed up.
Yeah.
Just he was
it.
there.
Yeah, he was there. His dad is interesting.
His dad's interesting.
It
doesn't seem like a very loving dad.
I don't think we're supposed to like this man.
I don't think this guy's great. What happens next? And now the team is kind of setting up shop. The team that wants to recruit Peacemaker. At that point, we don't really know what they need from him. So we're trying to figure that out.
His dad hooked him up with the helmet, and that's
Right.
where we kind of learned that he's kind of supplied by his dad. So it did bring this interesting thing where it's like, yeah, this is someone who we know is a bad person, but it's where Peacemaker gets all his gear from. But yeah, he's seeing he begrudgingly gives, Peacemaker a new suit. He pulls up in the suit. They're kind of like, oh my God.
Oh, there was a line, like a cosplay line.
Yeah.
Did this dipshit really show up in full cosplay mode?
This is the guy Waller's giving us.
But then also, yeah, because they're like, we're trying to be these undercover agents, and you're walking in straight up in a
He's a
hero
peacemaker.
suit. That's kind of like the fun of this show is it kind of feels like just like a regular like secret agent show at times, and then you realize that this is a world in which people are so disillusioned by heroes because they see them. This is
or people in costume. It's nothing too weird.
Yeah, we're like, that's just a hero.
Yeah.
It's the DC universe. So like a guy walking into the diner, they're like, oh, that's just, Peacemaker.
Yeah, that's just Peacemaker. Would you see, if you saw a guy like that, would you be like, that's a hero? Or is that just some kind of...
I'd have to see it in action because, I do see you got the Dove of Peace on the chest, but that helmet is menacing. He looks like he can headbutt me and end me.
It's very shiny.
Yeah, it's very
Feels
shiny.
like it could blind you.
Yeah, it really can.
Yeah. We get into the diner. We're getting to know the team a little more.
Yeah, and and we're finding out that Peacemaker, he's horny. Well, first, I'm gonna give Peacemaker some credit. First, it was these random gross dudes at the bar who came over and was hitting on her in a weird way, and then we saw just how capable she was because she just took them down like it was nothing.
Yeah.
And then Peacemaker came through.
Well, the thing is that like Peacemaker is so... you kind of feel bad for him because he's just so literal. He has obviously bad social cues.
Yeah, there was a level of openness with being like, I've been in prison a long time. I'm not looking for love. I'm just trying to bump our genitals together.
Right.
Lucky for him, he still did go somewhere. He did get somebody.
Which then brings us to that happens.
Yeah,
he's at the girl's
banging.
place. Yeah,
They're banging.
They're at the girl's place. There's this huge fight that happens.
Yeah,
that erupts in
I want to go before the fight.
Before the fight.
Because
what happened before
the fight, what did you think was going to happen?
I felt it in my gut. Something bad
was going to happen.
Yeah,
either way.
it was something
too
was
good.
going. But then he had his little dance sequence naked, singing into a vibrator.
Yeah,
and then she came up with a knife and just started slashing, and
slashing with
very physically nimble.
Yeah, like this was very obviously not just someone who
not
was
a
mad,
human,
who had regret. And growling and tossing him through, and it's like a huge fight scene, and it goes all the way outside when he's trying to run away.
Yeah,
and then we find the power of the helmet because we didn't see all that the helmet could do.
We did
in
get
the movie.
It. Yeah,
we
saw it, and we got kind of a tease of the helmet actually does something.
Yeah.
Because again, someone who hasn't read the comics or doesn't really understand or know Peacemaker, I didn't think the helmet had anything to do with it. I thought it was like just a helmet, and it essentially blows her up.
Yeah, it's the sonic boom.
Sonic boom.
And it blows not just her, a huge, large radius of the parking lot.
Yeah.
And the police are coming. And that's where we left off.
Yeah, that's legitimately where we left off, and we came in with not a lot of questions. We leave with more questions and not a lot of answers. Why wait any longer? We could just ask James Gunn.
Yeah,
he's just gonna be here.
Yeah.
And we're gonna ask him some questions, and we're also gonna ask questions that you have all asked.
Yeah. We went ahead and picked one question that the community asked, and we're gonna ask James Gunn for you because we're a pod for the people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For the people.
For the people.
For the people.
Let's go talk to James.
Let's talk to him.
We are joined with the man behind the madness, James Gunn, who is the writer and director of the show. Welcome to the show about your show.
Hey guys, hey.
Hey, how's it hanging?
The show about my show, and strangely, I'm going to start a podcast about your show.
Absolutely.
So that we can have a podcast about the podcast.
Good. Great idea.
I was thinking last night, I don't think I've been this excited about people seeing something. It's such an interesting thing, TV too, because it's not people just need to turn on their TV and watch it if they have HBO Max, and Suicide Squad was on TV. Yeah. And more people saw. I mean, just everyone had seen it. Like 3 days later, everyone I knew in the world had seen it, and so the difference between something being on TV and something being in a theater is so different. So I'm very excited about it coming out and people getting a chance to see it. And I don't think people really know what to expect.
I definitely didn't know what to expect.
Yeah, I know.
What did you expect?
I didn't know too much about Peacemaker. I think as someone who's like new to this.
Yeah, no, I was hyped going into Peacemaker because I'm a reveal myself. I'm a
Yeah,
James
you're-
Gunn head. Yeah,
You're James Gunn
back
head.
to the trauma stuff. As a comedy guy, I was like all on board, and then just even seeing like the way you use music in Peacemaker the same way, I was like, oh, James Gunn enjoys music. That's one thing I do know.
I love music so much, but what I really love doing is like scratching this itch of music that we know but don't notice and is underappreciated. And so I feel better about the Peacemaker soundtrack than I do of any soundtrack since Guardians 1. Because Guardians 1, we were like taking these old 1970s AM hits that people might recognize, they might know the name of the song, but they almost certainly don't know the name of the artist, and kind of bringing them to the surface and putting them in a completely different context.
Yeah.
And in this show, it's taking hair metal, basically, or
Yes.
sleaze metal, or glam metal, and taking that music and giving it a spotlight. And it's a mix between these old bands, like in the first episode, which I guess we're talking about, the Choir Boys, and then, new bands, and kind of mixing them up that are from like, there's a lot of European sleaze metal bands today that are actually really good. They're actually overall much better than the hair metal bands that I grew up with. But being able to give that music, that's so out of fashion in America, a chance to shine a little is one of the fun things about this show.
The music was, I love what you said about how like you're trying to bring unknown music or unknown sounds to a franchise
Yeah.
like Peacemaker or like a big franchise like that, which is, I love that.
That's why.
What is it about Peacemaker as just like a character that appeals to you that made you want to do this?
I think that it was a lot of different things. Number one, I loved the Captain America TV movie from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what would a really fucked up version of that be like?
Rightfully so.
And if you ever go back and see it, it's terrible. But as a child, I loved it. So
Yeah.
I'm like, in my brain, what was that show, And then you take that to sort of this extreme place, and that's Peacemaker. So that's part of it. The other part of it is just, I'm interested in superheroes that are different, whether it's their superpower that's different, like Ratcatcher 2, she has a superpower that we don't normally see, control of animals. That's much more interesting to me than all these people shooting ray guns out of their hands.
Yeah.
It's just so many guys. But Peacemaker is like, he's kind of a bad guy, he's kind of a piece of crap.
Yeah.
But he does have a point.
Yeah.
He really does have a point. So I can see where he's coming from, and I also can think that he's wrong, and that makes an interesting character for me. And then the other thing was, I loved working with John on the Suicide Squad. And when we made that movie, a lot of the other characters get more background than Christopher Smith does. Bloodsport does, Ratcatcher 2 does, Polka Dot Man does. So it was about, John and I talked a lot about where he came from and who he was and how awkward he is. Even in that group of people that start to bond, he's still awkward. He's the guy that still feels left out. And he has this little moment, this one night where he's dancing at La Gatita Amable, where he feels like he's maybe a part of the group and kind of starting to let go. And then he goes and destroys it all because of his ideals. And this is a guy who's being crushed by his ideals. His ideals are ruining his spirit. And to me, that's the central story of the show, is a guy whose ideals are crushing his self and who he is. And so getting to see that, really close. But also, John is really funny. And we did a lot of improv and funny things on Suicide Squad. But in a movie, you really got to move from scene to scene to scene to scene to scene to scene. So I thought it would be fun to be able to take that character and stretch him out a little bit, really see how he is, see how he ticks, who he is, and then allow ourselves to have more humor, allow ourselves to have more drama, and just be able to get to see all these different facets of this character.
Like, yeah, what was it like to be able to like really embrace getting weird with John Cena?
I'm really, really blessed in my life to have two of the guys that are my closest collaborators that I've worked with are Chris Pratt and John Cena. And they are legitimately two of the deepest, hardest, kindest guys with integrity. And John, below none. He has so much integrity. He's such a good person. He shows up 100%. And I love that. And because he has that trust in me, And I have that trust in him. We have a very intimate relationship where I'm able to tell him anything about his acting. If I think he's getting off base somewhere, I will tell him directly. I think he appreciates that because I am so direct. And so we just trust each other immensely as human beings, first and foremost, and then secondarily as creative people. And so he puts his life in my hands in terms of the life that he's portraying on screen of Christopher Smith. And it makes it a lot easier, traveling through 8 episodes. That's a long time to be shooting somebody. 131 days on this show. So it was fun.
Well, I mean, okay, so we got Peacemaker, and then we've got this amazing sidekick that you had, who was Eagley.
Yeah.
What? I loved it. I love it. Is that like is he your favorite sidekick ever? Because it is for me.
I love animals, so there always ends up to be a big animal element. And even sometimes the animal is not an animal, it's Groot, So it's like, but I love Sebastian in Suicide Squad. But Eagley's a lot of fun because there's no sentimentality to Eagley. Like Sebastian, who's a rat, is much smarter than a normal rat would. But Eagley he's an eagle. He's not much. Eagles are smart animals, but they aren't people. And also Eagley will bite you. He just doesn't really like anyone but Peacemaker. But he has taken Peacemaker on as sort of his child in a way. And I think that serves this. There's this thing you see a lot with people with dogs. People often can be these harsh, just really kind of bad people. But with dogs, they can be really kind. And that always makes you go, oh, God, maybe the person isn't all bad because they're nice to dogs. Now, the worst people are mean to animals, right? But some people have that. And that's what I think Christopher Smith is like with Eagley. That brings out this softness that he has. And he's completely vulnerable and loving with Eagley. He loves Eagley. And you see this different side of him from episode 1. And I knew that when we were making this show, we're fighting a little bit against the fact that people think Peacemaker is a piece of shit. I mean, it's one of the things I hear the most online is, why are you making this show about Peacemaker? We want it about this person or Ratcatcher too or whatever. But the truth is, I found Peacemaker the most interesting in some ways simply because those characters had a change in Suicide Squad. Bloodsport becomes a better person by the end of Suicide Squad. Peacemaker doesn't have that. And so to be able to see someone intimately on that process of becoming a different person, better or worse, or whichever way this all goes, seeing that more intimately, I thought it gave us a deeper place to start with Peacemaker. But I also knew that, people are not going to stick, with the show beyond a couple episodes if they don't like Peacemaker, if they don't have some feeling for Christopher Smith. So I think giving him some of these things, his relationship with Eagley, seeing a little bit about where he comes from with what a piece of shit his father is. And that, like so many of us, we think we're terrible, but then we look at our parents and they're slightly worse versions of ourselves, So he is improving upon where he came from. He's not as bad as his dad. So I think that maybe, hopefully, people will see something about Christopher Smith that they kind of love a little bit, even though he might push people away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, we got to talk about that opening number. Do you know the dance from the opening credits by heart? I'm hoping the answer is yes.
Yeah, would you like me to do it? Hold on. That was in the script from the beginning. I had, there's a woman by the name of Carissa Barton who I hired to do the choreography for us. And she happens to be the wife of my good friend Alan Tudyk, the actor, and which was just a coincidence. I didn't know when I hired her. But she did a fantastic job. I really just wanted something very, very weird. It came in from I remember Danielle Brooks coming into me and like, what are we doing? Like, what is this? And I'm like, just look totally serious. You're not having fun. You're just be very, 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 very serious. And, telling Carissa, like, we just got to make the dance as ridiculous as it can possibly be while they remain completely serious. But Carissa really helped me to put that together and put that together. She was the one that designed it, and she did an amazing job. And one of the fun things that you'll see as you watch the episodes of the series is it plays a different role in every episode. Like, I know people are going to be able to skip over it. I hope they don't, because it plays a different role in every series. It just always tells a different story. And you see as our story gets darker and deeper and more sad, that the dance itself kind of becomes more sad and more serious and less funny. And so it's interesting to see in that way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, your stories often like showcase a lot of empathy for like
Yeah.
the people in society that we label as bad. You know, so like, can you talk a little bit about the appeal of just the bad guy in general?
I guess I don't think of it as a bad guy. I guess I think of, there's good people in this world, and we love them. This is my Catholic upbringing. This is how I look at the world, right? And then there's evil people.
Yeah.
But then there are all of us that are in between. And I'm that. Maybe you guys aren't. You're probably both very good. I don't know. But I'm in between, right? I'm not perfect. I'm better than most, but not great. And I think it's really about finding, people finding the good in themselves, and I grew up, I got sober at an early age. I was, around a lot of people who did a lot of bad things. I was a very bad kid. And finding the goodness in other people so that you can empathize, I think, is an important thing. And that's a big part of this show, too. I mean, the relationship between Peacemaker and Adebayo, who both come from very, very different places in terms of what their political beliefs are, in terms of their ideals, but who have a genuine joy in each other's company and a genuine friendship from the very beginning. In the first episode, we see this thing that plays out sort of like a meet cute. And so it's really about a friendship, and she laughs at his jokes. And she's probably the first person that we've seen laugh at his jokes the whole episode for sure. But even through his jokes in Suicide Squad, nobody ever laughed at what he had to say. Like, she thinks he's funny. He's a doofus. He believes a lot of stupid things, but she kind of likes him, and he definitely likes her. And so that friendship, to me, is the heart of the show in so many ways.
Listen, I will also say, as a gay woman, I would be best friends with Peacemaker. So you're right on that.
Would you be?
Yeah, I think so. I think our weird humor would actually get along. Honestly, I don't think you're wrong.
Well, the weird thing about Peacemaker too is the one thing he doesn't have any judgments of is sexuality. Like, he himself is twisted sexually. This is all John Cena, by the way. I just thought Peacemaker was like probably a regular straight frat boy type when I was writing him in Suicide Squad. But John kept bringing this other element to him that was very omnisexual. He's a sexual omnivore, and we see Peacemaker talk about that, mention that briefly to Harcourt in the first episode. So it's not like Peacemaker's a bad guy either. I mean, people constantly are writing on Twitter about how awful he is and how mad he is that he killed Rick Flag, and I may get shit for saying this, but man, what he was doing, he had a reason for doing it. He didn't want he kills Rick Flag in Suicide Squad because there's a piece of evidence that he believes will cause the world a great amount of disturbance and death and violence. And he's covering up the truth. So if you believe in the truth being out there no matter what, yeah, you definitely don't agree with that. But he's not a natural rights perspective. He's a utilitarian, comes from a utilitarian perspective. So he believes that, the world is better off without that bit of information. And if that means killing a guy he really likes and looks up to, he's willing to do that. And then let's also say, Rick Flag does try to strangle Peacemaker to death.
Peacemaker wasn't trying to kill Rick Flag in that fight. It wasn't until he was about to die that we got that super cool sharded heart sequence. I'm like, oh, this is nice. This is a nice way to see someone die.
Well, I just, listen, I want, in these comic book movies, you see people die and they're not really dead. And Peacemaker is one of those people. But, I wanted to knock it home. That was one of the things we, talked about the most in Suicide Squad is that shot of Rick Flagg's heart getting pierced. But to me, it's incredible. It makes it sadder because we're not going to sit there and think, oh, Rick Flag got up and walked away from that after Peacemaker was gone. He didn't. We saw his heart explode into blood like he's dead.
Yeah.
And that's the reason for that shot.
All right, now to wrap this guest interview, our favorite segment, which is Eagley Mail. Ooh.
Okay.
Got some fan-submitted questions to ask our guests, and this one is pretty interesting. Let's take a look. What does peace look like to Peacemaker? What would the circumstances have to be for him to say mission accomplished and stand down?
A complete world peace throughout the world. No more violence, whatever.
Yeah.
I think Peacemaker knows that's not going to happen.
Yeah, okay.
I think, he enjoys making peace through violence. You know what I mean? Obviously, he's a violent guy. So I think that's a part of his, if not his DNA, it's definitely a part of of how he grew up. And we'll learn about that a lot more as the show goes on. We'll see where that sort of violent streak came from and how he got it.
If he wants world peace, he's got.
Yeah.
That's mission accomplished.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much for sitting down and talking with us for this episode of Podly. It truly has been a pleasure. And I'm
This
super
went
excited.
by in 2 seconds. How long was this?
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
How are you going to get all the information you need about these episodes without 3 hours apiece, right?
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
See you around.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
All right, Effie. This is the segment we've all been waiting for. We're going to be announcing this week's Peace Prize. What we want to do with the Peace Prize is essentially want to give out the prize to the moments of like badassery, heartwarming, cool, exciting moments of an episode and just give them the recognition they deserve. So for this week,
Yeah.
what are you thinking?
This week we're going to do the Eagley hug. It's going to be a heartwarming moment that we really enjoyed this episode, and that felt like a hug from Eagley.
It was so warm. Such a warm Eagley hug.
So what are you thinking?
The scene that we would like to get this Peace Prize,
Yeah.
which was the scene with Adebayo and Peacemaker. They're outside of the diner or restaurant, and they're finally getting that connection.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be BFFs, I feel it.
Peacemaker is kind of coming out of that interaction because they were kind of dissing his outfit. They kind of
Yeah.
treat him like he's dumb, and he's kind of feeling
He's not
that.
feeling too good.
Yeah, and so he goes back to his car, and he's talking with Eagley, who is showing him some love, and you have someone like Adebayo who wants to come up and try and connect with them because her mom has sent her on a mission to get
Her mom being Amanda Waller.
sent her
Yeah.
on a mission specifically to get close with Peacemaker. But it's interesting because you can't tell if it's like a real connection or if it's
Yeah,
her,
but I mean, I don't know. Something about Adebayo feels like genuine, and I
Oh,
feel
yeah,
like
100%.
she doesn't really know what she's getting herself into.
Yeah.
And I think just that Peacemaker and Adebayo scene, kind of, you feel like they're probably both on the same page. They both don't really know what they're getting themselves into, but they have to do it. I think that scene deserves that prize.
Yeah, I think
At
you're
least
right.
for this episode.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
for the first official Peace Prize, it's going to be that scene getting the Eagley hug.
The warm Eagley hug.
The
for
warm
sure.
Eagley hug.
Hey, bud. Oh, shit, man. I thought you said it was friendly.
Oh, I thought you meant friendly to me.
Yeah, I know it's friendly to you. I saw you pet it.
You know, you're so happy to see me today. He wrapped his wings around me and hugged me.
An eagle hugged you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I call bullshit on that.
You don't want to believe in miracles, that's on you. You're the new girl, huh?
Yeah, but I know my shit. Don't worry about that. I've done a lot of, notable things.
That's super vague. Oh, you hubbed up?
What? Married, yeah.
That's cool. I'm into old-fashioned stuff, too. Hummel figurines and capital punishment and garbage pail kids and stuff.
I loved how she was just like, an eagle can hug?
Yeah,
What are
she
you
was,
talking
yeah,
about?
what are you- yeah, no.
What are you talking about?
No, I don't believe
Yeah,
that.
and Eagley is only nice to Peacemaker.
Yeah.
And no one else.
Yeah. Eagley is an eagle to everyone else, a friend to Peacemaker.
A friend to Peacemaker. Which honestly, I think, well, it's just the loyalty.
I think it's time we get up out of here. So thank you for watching and listening to Podly, the official Peacemaker podcast from HBO Max and DC. Make sure to subscribe and tune in for the next episode where we break down episode number 2.
And we've got some sweet merch. You're going to want some merch. You want to support.
Okay.
You want to wear some Peacemaker merch. Go to shop.dccomics.com for the latest drops. You don't want to miss it.
And if you want to get tapped into the source material, make sure you sign up for DC Universe Infinite, which will give you access to all the Peacemaker comics, Suicide Squad, and everything in between. Also, don't forget to go ahead and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And make sure you comment and tell us your favorite moments from the episode. And make sure that you're up to date and you're watching episodes of Peacemaker and Podly on HBO Max. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. We'll talk about we're gonna peace out.
Yeah, we're gonna peace out. Peace out. See you on episode number 2. We're gonna peace out.